Nigeria's COVID-19 numbers reduced on Tuesday as total tally rises to nearly 53,000. NDLEA, Customs and Police intercept nearly 12 million tramadol tablets in Lagos. In international news, 3 protesters shot in the US while demonstrating against police shooting of an armed black man. And in sport, Messi set to leave Barcelona as club looks ready for massive rebuild.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria recorded a fairly low number of COVID-19 infections on Tuesday as 252 fresh cases were confirmed. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control says the cases were recorded in 17 states and Abuja. It added that 3 persons died from complications resulting from the virus on Tuesday. This pushed up the number of COVID-19 fatalities to 1,007. Also, the total number of confirmed cases has increased to 52,800. Lagos, usually the leader in case numbers, ran fourth on Tuesday with 26 cases. Plateau State led the pack with 50 infections. NCDC reports 39,964 patients have been discharged from various isolation facilities across the country as of Tuesday night. It appears there is great local interest in finding a cure for the coronavirus disease in the country. The National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has been deluged with at least 40 applications from researchers for approval of herbal formulations for the treatment of the disease. NAFDAC's Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, said during an online news conference her agency is currently reviewing the formulations to ensure they are safe for use. She warned that if herbal medicines are not well researched, they can kill fast. Professor Adeyeye said NAFDAC has developed guidelines for online registration of herbal medicines and how to label them. The NAFDAC boss warned there is not yet a cure for COVID-19 and no herbal medicine manufacturer can claim his product can cure or effectively treat COVID-19 associated symptoms. On the touted chloroquine treatment, Professor Adeyeye said the medicine can work in the early stages of the disease. She referred to a CNN report that says chloroquine can be used prophylactically, which she says means the illness will not progress. She warned against politicizing science because, as she put it, science does not lie. An effort to flood Nigerian cities with illegally imported tramadol tablets has been thwarted by a coordinated operation by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, the Customs Service and the police at the Lagos port. NDLEA Head of Public Affairs, Jonah Achema, said the nearly 12 million tablets of the drug were packed in 600 cartons and loaded onto 3 containers in which other medicines were also concealed. Achema said this discovery shows the drug cartel routes their containers through Pakistan to Hamburg, Germany to Nigeria in an effort to elude security. News Agency of Nigeria reports a 40-foot container loaded with suspected tramadol and codeine was also intercepted earlier this month and another one 2 weeks later. Nigeria's inflation rate has risen to a 3-year high, rising by 12.82% year-on-year last month, compared with 12.56% recorded in June. This is the highest rate recorded since March 2018, when headline inflation was 13.34%. Correspondent Kelechi Mekalam reports.
Prices of commodities in the West African nation are on a steady rise, with inflation jumping to the highest level since March 2018. According to the Consumer Price Index report by the National Bureau of Statistics, the month-on-month inflation rate has risen to 12.82%, a 0.26% increase from the previous rate of 12.56%. It's the highest rate of inflation the country has recorded in nearly 3 years. And the surge in food prices is coming as citizens grapple with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, including job losses and pay cuts. The purchasing power of consumers has worsened, and their ability to afford the same quantity of goods or services has reduced significantly.
You can see as the market is so scanty now. You can see if it is before, you see customer queue up to buy, but now you see everywhere is so scanty. You know, people are not coming because of the price, the new price of the goods. Those who do buy a bag before, they will be buying quarter bag of rice because of the changes. So it's affecting everybody. Even we are not selling like before because of the high rate of the things, commodity that went up.
What I bought last week is not the price they are giving me today. So it's really affecting me, and I don't know how I'm going to sell it when I get to my shop. Like the money I came with now to buy the goods now, you now find out that I will not be able to buy as much as I want to buy because I will not be able to buy more based on the price have now increased. So I will not get more. So you understand?
Among other value chains affected by the inflation spike are agriculture, medical and transportation services. The problem is exacerbated by the border closure, the coronavirus lockdown, and the recent hike in fuel prices. Experts also blame the surge in the high cost of living on Nigeria's import-dependent economy.
Why do we have pressure on USD? Because most of our economic life are imported. Most of the clothes we wear are imported. Most of things we use are imported. Our vehicles are imported, our mobile phones are imported, our cameras are imported, and so on and so forth. The only way forward is to create import substitution and promote export. Not until we are able to get into full production and manufacturing as a nation, I'm afraid we will still be wondering why inflation is running 100 by 100 faster than Usain Bolt.
It's turning out to be one of Nigeria's toughest times. According to the World Bank, the collapse in oil prices and COVID-19 pandemic could plunge the country into one of its worst recessions in 3 decades. And experts say Nigeria quickly needs to engage both long and short-term solutions to get the nation back on track.
Coming up, African stories. Ebola infections rising in DRC Equatorial Province. And later, international news. 3 protesters shot in the US while demonstrating against police shooting of an armed black man.
You are watching ANN.
See you tomorrow, Papa. I am happy and I know I'm free.
Now time for meeting. Any landlord when no show go pay fine.
Make I go call her.
House number 1. Present.
Papa, they don't disturb me too.
House number 5.
And they're angry that you are not here.
Just put me on the window there so that I can see them and I can hear them. He's not around, so it has a sanction. Present.
I carry data for head, I carry them for back.
Correct data I know the payment.
Say I know they know me, say I know this yoga landlord.
Talk to me
face
to face.
Explore without limits. Turn it up on MTN, the reliable data network.
Driver, fire ahead.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The World Health Organization has expressed concern over the escalating Ebola situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo's Equatorial Province. At least 100 cases have already been reported in the current outbreak, which started in early June. Correspondent Chris Okamringa tells us more.
The number of Ebola cases in the DRC's northwestern province of Equator has doubled over the past 5 weeks. 100 cases have been recorded since the outbreak was announced on June 1st, and the disease has now spread to 11 health zones in the area. The World Health Organization has expressed concern about the further spread of the disease because it has occurred in a remote area with dense rainforests which are difficult to access.
Sequencing is currently in progress. Preliminary results show very interesting information that will be released soon and shows that this epidemic is completely different from the previous one in the same province. One of the particularities of this epidemic is also that the surveillance have been reinforced very quickly in the neighboring area, which has also allowed the detection of many cases and many outbreaks in remote villages.
The response has also been set back by an ongoing strike by local health workers who are demanding their unpaid salaries. The workers have been supporting foreign health experts to contain the disease. A shortage of funding has added problems to the existing challenges. The Congolese government is battling other epidemics like COVID-19 and has appealed for more funding from donors. The outbreak in Equator province is the 11th to occur in the DRC since 1976.
At least 5,000 unemployed PhD holders in Tunisia have joined hundreds more unemployed citizens in a protest to bring their case to the government. It appears there is not much the government can do at this point as COVID-19 bears down on global economic activities. Correspondent Adnin Chawochi reports.
Tunisian authorities assert that the high unemployment rate is a result of the social and economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis on the active population in the country. Data from the National Institute of Statistics in Tunisia showed unemployment rate has risen significantly in the second quarter of 2020 to 746,000 people. Thousands of unemployed graduates have been demonstrating in many regions. Some of these graduates have been unemployed for years. The COVID-19 crisis has only complicated the situation. In fact, the number of unemployed higher education graduates is estimated on average at 286,000 in the second quarter of 2020, compared to 258,000 in the first 6 months of the year.
It's unacceptable that university graduates who spend years studying do not get the chance to work in any company or state institution. We've been neglected by the successive governments.
The state wants to get rid of us. Creating jobs is the state's responsibility. The COVID-19 crisis is not the main reason for unemployment. We've been unemployed since 2011. The crisis has only exacerbated the mismanagement, incompetence and absence of concrete solutions.
Over 5,000 PhD holders from different specialties have staged sit-ins to shed light on their precarious situation, which is expected to worsen because the government has put direct hold on civil service employment for the next 2 years.
The post-COVID-19 period is supposed to be an era of scientific research and opportunities for researchers and PhD holders. The unemployment rate has reached alarming levels. The situation will not improve because the worst is yet to come.
The Ministry of Social Affairs says Tunisia's youth unemployment rate is 36.1%. This rate is estimated at 36% for men and 37.3% for women. According to the National Institute of Statistics, over 200,000 people have lost their jobs in the industry, agriculture, service, tourism and construction sectors since the outbreak of the coronavirus crisis. Experts assert that this number is expected to rise in the next 3 months.
Kenya's overflooded lakes in the Rift Valley are not receding. In fact, environmentalists are concerned there could be severe ecological impact in the region. Correspondent Robert Nagila has the story.
Murray Roberts is a worried man.
All our offices, stores, workshops, etc. have now been completely flooded.
Rising water levels at Lake Baringo, a freshwater lake in the Rift Valley, is threatening his life's work in tourism and posture development.
Beginning January 2020, it's come up over 10 feet and it's coming up about 1 inch a day.
The swollen lakes expanded inland several kilometers, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. And as if that was not enough, a looming ecological disaster may be on the horizon. South of Lake Baringo lies another lake whose levels have also been rising, Lake Bogoria. The difference is it's a saltwater body. To give you an idea of just how high the water levels have risen, the lake's moved in about 7 kilometers inland, submerging what used to be a road. Offices in the background, and behind it an airstrip and farmland. The warden at Lake Bogoria says it's pushing northwards towards Lake Baringo.
Our normal distance between Lake Bogoria and Baringo used to be around 40 kilometers, but as we speak now, it's less than 10 kilometers.
Should the lakes merge, Lake Bogoria's saltwater ecosystem could contaminate Lake Baringo's freshwater world. The ecological consequences will be felt in these parts for years to come.
The whole ecosystem will change to be fresh, to alkalinity, because the pH of this lake is around 10.5, and then the other one is around 7.8.
Certain plant species will disappear, along with marine life, birds, and animals that depend on the freshwater lake. From a distance, the warden can still see his first office, almost submerged. Recently, he's been forced to give up his second office, which is slowly being engulfed by the lake. Back at Lake Baringo, Roberts believes he may have a solution.
Further north, there is a possibility to build a canal, an outlet.
Until a solution is found, those that live by the lake may be forced to move to higher ground.
Water levels rising in that lake.
When we return, international news. 3 protesters shot in the US while demonstrating against police shooting of an armed black man. And later, sport. Messi set to leave Barcelona.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Protests were meant to be peaceful, and they started as such in the city of Kenosha in the U.S. state of Wisconsin against police shooting of an unarmed black man. Then things changed with heavy police and National Guard's presence. 2 protesters were killed and another wounded in a third night of protests in the city after a police officer shot an armed black man, Jacob Blake, 7 times in the back, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. The third protester, who suffered gunshot wounds, has been taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers has declared a state of emergency and promised to deploy additional National Guard troops in a bid to restore order in Kenosha. 29-year-old Blake, a father of 6, was struck from behind at point-blank range in a hail of bullets on Sunday as he walked to his car. It is the third day of 4-day sentencing hearing for Australian mosque shooter Brenton Tarrant. 29-year-old Tarrant has now pleaded guilty to 51 counts of murder, 40 attempted murders, and 1 charge of terrorism. Survivors and families of victims of the Christchurch, New Zealand mosque shooting have also spoken out as tears welled and photographs of dead relatives hosted high, all against gunman Brenton Tarrant. 51 persons were confirmed dead in the Christchurch attacks on 2 mosques last year. Tarrant faces life in prison, possibly without parole, a sentence that has never been imposed in New Zealand. Meanwhile, as New Zealand awaits a court verdict on Brenton Tarrant, citizens braced up for a cannabis referendum in October. It would be a non-binding vote on whether to legalize the sale, use, possession and production of cannabis. Correspondent Owen Perland explains.
The billboards are up for New Zealand's 3-yearly general election, and this time the vote isn't just about politicians. The possession and use of cannabis has been a crime since 1961, but that hasn't stopped it becoming a highly popular recreational drug.
Cannabis is widely used in New Zealand like it is in a lot of parts of the world, and so first and foremost the current law has clearly failed to prevent that.
Public opinion is evenly divided on the legalization issue, but those who are campaigning against it blame the drug for mental health issues and family violence.
Studies have shown that those who are regular cannabis users are 3 times more likely to have a conviction for a violent crime.
Aaron Ironside represents a cluster of community groups fighting against legalization, which they say will encourage greater use.
The jurisdictions that have legalised, we've seen increased overall use of cannabis, and most concerningly among young people, 15 to 24 years old.
The reality is that marijuana has been part of New Zealand culture since the 1960s. It's estimated that more than 50% of the population have tried it, and 16% are regular users, which is why businesses like this survive, selling everything from pipes to seeds, oil, protein, and even clothing. The hemp products are legal, but most of the drugs are grown and sold in a black market run by criminals. The new law aims to stop that illegal trade by shifting the focus to licensed growers and distributors who support the community.
There won't be any big business developing around it. This is a very different form of legalization compared to what we've seen in North America. It takes a very health-focused approach, and it encourages non-commercial, socially minded providers.
The proposed law limits the potency of cannabis. Smoking in public is banned, and teenagers can't legally buy it. Sales taxes will also be spent on health and education programs, but opponents say that doesn't justify legalization.
We have health and education programs for speeding, for drunk driving. Those are illegal activities. You don't need to make something legal to strengthen the health and education approaches to those topics.
But there's some powerful voices behind the Yes campaign. If a majority vote yes, and if the present Labour government is re-elected, as polls suggest, the drug could be legal within 18 months.
With Mexico's high numbers of COVID-19 cases, Mexican health workers have always demanded that authorities provide proper personal protective equipment. The health workers accuse Mexican officials of putting their health at risk by giving them poorly made equipment. Things have slightly improved with the provision of new protective suits. They are uncomfortable, but frontline workers say they feel better protected. Correspondent Alex de Baverstock has the story.
Mexico City, where ambulances are a common sight these days. Victor Dominguez is responding to a call, but first he has to suit up. This is the XE suit, designed in Mexico for those who have no choice but to come into close contact with COVID-19.
I feel completely safe wearing this suit. It gives me the confidence to do my work.
Mexico City has the country's highest concentration of cases, with paramedics reporting that 9 out of every 10 emergency calls these days involve COVID-19 patients. Protecting these key workers from their constant contact with the virus is essential to the capital's ability to manage the pandemic.
While hermetically sealed equipment like this for medical workers is not new, previous suit designs had significant flaws.
Everything works well, but they're uncomfortable, they're hot. You don't take the best decisions for your patients when you happen not to be feeling really well.
Fernando Aviles is the director of XE Medica, a private ambulance service that also employs an engineering staff that designed this equipment around the problem.
It has a personal air circulating system, and you will always be breathing filtered air, and you will be completely safe. Plus, your patients can actually look at your face. And in the psychological part, that's also helpful for the patient, that they can see the doctor treating them, that he's smiling.
Fernando says these types of innovations are essential on the front lines of the pandemic.
Well, the fact that you use the word front lines reminds me of wartime. And during wartime is when the most technological advances have been done in the past. At first glance, if you have seen this maybe a year ago, you will call me crazy, like it's now become part of the new normal, because we have understood as society that we need to think and move fast in order to win the war. Otherwise, we won't prevail.
XE Medica is also marketing the suit to doctors and dentists. Battle dress for the new normal.
Up next, sport. Barcelona star Messi is set to leave Spanish club. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Manchester United star Harry Maguire has been given a suspended prison sentence of 21 months and 10 days after being found guilty of aggravated assault, resisting arrest and repeated bribery attempts. A court on the island of Cyprus, Greece, has convicted Maguire of all the charges against him. His sentencing came just hours after he was initially named to England's latest squad for September's Nations League games against Iceland and Denmark, but he has now been dropped. 33-year-old Barcelona forward Lionel Messi has asked to leave the Spanish club this summer. Messi sent a fax to the club on Tuesday saying he wishes to exercise a clause in his contract allowing him to leave for free with immediate effect. A six-time Ballon d'Or winner made his debut for Barca in 2004 and has won the Champions League 4 times. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.